And if something comes, we'll talk about it. Torah reading and Haftarah, Parasha and Haftarah. So we're talking about Parashat Vayeshev, Vayeshev Yaakov, and the Haftarah from Amos. We'll talk about the connection between the two, and we'll read from Genesis 37. That's the beginning of the parasha, and Amos, the book of Amos, and mentioned in the parasha of last week, and generally holds an important place in the recent weekly portion, as well as in biblical history. The city of Shechem. We'll talk about that. It will kind of continue what we've talked last week, which was mainly about the crossing of the Jordan by Jacob. Now we'll continue his journey through the Wadi of Tirza, or Wadi Farah in Arabic, to the area of Shechem, and we'll talk about Shechem. But let's start with the beginning of the parasha. As we said, Parashat Vayeshev, and the first two verses of Parashat Vayeshev the talk about Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz megurei aviv eretz Canaan. That's the first verse, and here is the second. The first verse is about Jacob settled in the land of his forefathers, the land of Canaan, and here is the down the road, verse 2. Let's start, guys. Don't be shy.
I will. Ela toldot Yaakov Yosef ben Shava Esre Shana Haya Roe it Kav Batzon Vahu Noar.
Na'ar.
I was
right,
looking
we
at
have a
that.
patach and a patach.
Oops. Na'ar it bane vilha va it bane zilpa she aviv vayave Yosef it dibatam ra'a il avihim. So then, let's see. This then is the line of Jacob. At 17 years of age, Joseph tended the flocks with his brothers as a helper to the sons of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. And if there's more English text, I don't see it because the screen just cuts it off right there.
Something is like hiding it on your screen. Anyway, that's
oh, wait a minute. You know what? I moved my cursor down.
Okay.
The taskbar, and the strip.
Now you see it.
And Joseph brought bad reports of them to their father.
Right. Now, Toledot, very important word in the book of Genesis. Okay. Generations, related to the root Yod, Lamed, and Daled, that has to do with giving birth and being a child. In Hebrew, Yeled is a child. Yalad, begotten. Also, Yaleda gave birth. So in Hebrew, you use the same verb for giving birth and fathering. You can have the Hifil Holid, which is unique to the father. So the Kal Binyan, Yalad, if we have Yalad, then we can have the feminine Yaleda, she gave birth. But you can certainly have also the masculine Yalad, he begotten. What is unique to the father is the hifil, which is the causative, cause to give birth, and you can see why. Okay, because he's not actually, he is causing her to give birth. So that's holid, which is unique to a father. Yalad can work for both father and mother, which is interesting. You know how people say we are pregnant. You know how sometimes people say we're pregnant. So Yalad in Hebrew is he gave birth essentially, which is nice to be taking credit for something you didn't have to suffer too much to do, right? Like the guy who was walking anxiously outside the maternity ward, and the nurse comes out and says, Mazel Tov, you have a daughter. And he says, at least she wouldn't have to go through what I did now. So, yeah, so that's a bit about the root Yalad in Hebrew and the uniqueness of the use of this verb. Yosef, ben 17 shana, haya ro'eh et echav batzon. So haya ro'eh, we have a combination of haya, third person masculine singular, kal, katal, of the heyod yod or heyod hey. That's the form haya. And then the ro'eh, which is a masculine singular participle. Okay? Now, the participle in Hebrew can serve various purposes, and the translation could be accordingly. Okay? It can be a noun, an adjective, or a verb. A noun as a profession, ro'eh, that's a shepherd. That's the Hebrew way of saying shepherd. Okay? It is also a verb that can be he is tending the flock, he was tending the flock, he will be tending the flock. It could be the participle form, be that a present participle, a past participle, a future participle of the verb. Okay? And the combination of haya, ro'eh, haya, and the participle could be more general, like simple, repeat, like habitual English. He tended the flock. Okay, not he was at that moment, but it could be he was tending to the flock. It could be tended to the flock. And it could be he was a shepherd. It depends on the other things that the syntax of the sentence. Okay? Haya ro'eh. Now the next word is interesting. The next word is et. Haya ro'eh et echav batzon. What is the word et?
Marks a definite article.
So it marks the definite direct object.
Yeah.
So definite direct object marker. However, that's not the case in this case. It is the case in other places, even within this verse. Vayave Yosef et dibatam ra'a el aviem. So for instance, here you would be 100% correct. Joseph brought their bad report. Okay, his bad report of their behavior. And it marks that the batam is the direct object of the verb vayave. What did Joseph bring? He brought their diba. So it in this case is exactly what you said, Chris. But that's not the only use of the word it. What is this here? Here, he was tending to the flock with his brothers. Okay? It has a very basic meaning of with. For instance, some verbs that cannot take a direct object have the word et, meaning with. So for instance, when Lot is described as having a lot of flocks, similar to Abraham, it is said, V'gam lelot ha'olech et Abraham. And also to Lot, who was walking, you cannot walk, there is no direct object for walking. You can walk the walk in English, common phrase. But ha'olech et Abraham, who was walking with Abraham. Here, Joseph was tending the flock, okay, with his brothers. Okay, so it here is, okay, we have different uses. The word et is also interesting in the next line. So we've compared et here as with, as opposed to it here as the definite direct object marker. We also have it and et here. Okay, the word et is super common in biblical Hebrew, like around 12,000 times. Okay, two of which are in the first verse of the Bible. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. But here we have 4 times the word et. So you can see how common it is. In the next line, it's interesting, and it also caused some of the commentators and the scholars to suggest some textual suggestions in regards to this verse. What does it mean? Nar et. So the word nar, what is the word nar? What is nar, guys?
Let's try it.
Someone's
Please,
mic.
isn't it? No?
Is it what, Maureen?
Please. No.
No. That's na. Na.
Oh,
Nun and
na.
aleph. We're talking about the word nar. The one that I've boxed. Okay.
Nar is a young man.
Nar is a young man, could be even a baby, right? When Moses is in the ark or basket, usually people say basket. The word is teva in Hebrew, is like the ark of Noah. So when Moses is there, it is said that when she opened the teva, she saw a na'ar that was crying. She saw na'ar, hence it could also be a baby, not just a young man. So na'ar could be possibly all the way from a baby all the way to a young man. And even sometimes, regardless of age, it could be a position, as in helper, servant. Remember, anyone, how would be a waiter in French? Come on. You know
Garçon.
that.
Garçon.
Right, garçon. What does it mean in French?
Boy.
Just a boy.
Just a boy, right. But it also means a waiter, a server. Okay? And so the word nar, okay, could be in biblical Hebrew pretty much like the French, or in, think about the period of slavery in the United States, for instance, when people would refer to a slave by the word boy, regardless of an age. Okay, so in a similar way, regardless of age, the word nar in biblical Hebrew could be a helper, a servant. For instance, it is said that Yehoshua bin Nun, okay, the book of Exodus is telling us, Umesharato Yehoshua bin Nun Na'ar lo yamish mitoch ha'oel. His servant, Joshua, the son of Nun, who was a Na'ar, he would not move away from the tent. He would not leave. He would always be there. Okay? So the word Nar could be a servant, but what does it mean? Et b'nei Bilha ve'et b'nei Zilpa. Possibly that,
Well,
yeah,
was it really the wives?
yeah, the sons of Bilha and the sons of Zilpa, the wives of his father. Here,
But
wife in the broader sense, right?
Calling them wives, would that have meant that Leah and, of course, Rebecca both had passed away? And the wives, the servants have stepped up into the role of being the wives.
We know that Rachel died, right, in the previous weekly portion, okay? And we know that her death was significant, the birth of Binyamin and the death and the burial of Rachel in Kivrat Eretz Lavo Ephrata, in the tomb of Rachel, wherever that is. When we go to Israel, hopefully October 2026, that's from your answers. I'm gathering that this is the direction. We'll talk about it. We'll visit Rachel's tomb. We'll talk about the biblical verses. Could it be where it is suggested? Maybe a different place. Maybe we'll explain the different opinions. But that's the death of. The point being is that the death of Rachel is explicitly mentioned, as well as her burial place. What is not mentioned explicitly is the birth of Leah. Okay, is not explicitly said. It's not explicitly mentioned. Okay.
Later, that Jacob said there he buried Leah.
Right. She eventually died. We know that she died, and we know that she was buried in the cave of Machpelah. Sure. But it's not described, as opposed to it's only in retrospect, as you said, that Jacob says, there I buried Leah and so forth. Okay. Whereas it's not, we've talked about the death of Rachel, but I should even go further and say that the death of the wet nurse of Rachel is mentioned. Vatamo Devorah meineket Rivka. I mean, the wet nurse of Rebecca, right? And it is not mentioned, okay? Devorah meineket Rachel, okay? The death of Leah, okay, is not mentioned, okay? While it's very interesting, only in retrospect. So I don't know exactly, okay, why this is, I don't know exactly if Leah had passed away at that point. We can talk about traditions. The tradition says that she passed away when Jacob was 106, already mentioned in pseudepigrapha. That there is a genre, okay, apocryphal or pseudepigraphal books that are dealing with the wills of the different tribes and the wills of different people. They're oftentimes referred to as the testament of the tribes, or the testament of Kehat, or the testament of so and so. In Hebrew, it's more like the last words of. And in that, in one of these Dead Sea Scrolls, okay, or pseudepigraphal books. Okay, they talk about the death of Leah, and they do put a date on it. Okay, but it's not mentioned in the text, so I cannot tell you if by now she was already dead, that the wife, the other women, Bilhah and Zilpah, would consider to be the wives of his father. Okay? Yes, Don.
This is a question with regards to naming. We see that all of the children of Yaakov, Israel, seems to be named by the mothers. Is that the common way to do things? And it seems like you also wait until, the 8th day, I thought. So I guess this is just a group of questions with regards to that.
Okay. So it's interesting. First of all, not all of them were named by the mothers. Okay. It's and generally speaking, that's for the Bible in general. Okay. We don't always have the father or the mother. It's kind of inconsistent. For instance, by the way, Benjamin has a different name by his mother. Okay, and not his father gives him the name Binyamin. Okay, and that's part of the story of the birth of the tribes. Very interesting case with Binyamin and the meaning of his name. Okay. Now, specifically in regards to Benjamin, the naming represents a dispute between the father and the mother, or Jacob wanting to clarify that the name that should be given to that child, okay, has to have a specific meaning out of the two possibilities, because the name Ben Oni that is given by Rachel could be understood in more than one way. So Jacob names him Binyamin, which decides that the meaning of the name would be son of right hand, son of power, not son of affliction, because Ben Oni could be both. Okay, so you're right about the names of most of the tribes, right? That we have the mothers giving their names, but I think it has to do a lot with the struggle between them, rather than the naming convention in the Bible. We have the mothers giving names in other cases. Okay. We have other people giving names, like the daughter of Pharaoh gives the name Moshe, possibly, right? Bathsheba is giving the name Solomon, and that's a very interesting case, because there is a difference between the Ketiv and the Kerei there. The Kerei says that she gave the name, and the Ketiv says he gave the name. Okay, so we have interesting cases like that. We do have many cases where the fathers are giving their name. That's in regards to your first question. The second one, giving the name on the 8th day, I'm not sure it's such a very old tradition going all the way to biblical times. Okay, definitely not, prior to the first temple period and so forth. So yes, the circumcision on the 8th day, already Isaac is the first one to be circumcised on the 8th day, and it's a very common practice to give a name for boys on the day of the Brit. That's really a given today. I cannot tell you exactly when it started, okay? But there is nowhere in the Bible that connects the two. Okay, take for instance the first example, Isaac. The name is related to things that happened before, and it's not associated. It's not mentioned that it is done alongside the circumcision. Okay, so it is the practice today, but I don't know when it started. Now, so going back to the use of the word et here, so nar et bnei Bilha ve'et bnei Zilpa, possibly considering that maybe Joseph was regarded as one of the lower class kids. His mother is not around anymore. Reuben is, I want to remind you what happens last week. Reuben is doing some unusual, let's say, activities in order to make sure that the servant of his mother's competition, that is to say the maidservant of Rachel, does not succeed Rachel as the main wife of Jacob, but rather his own mother. Think about it. That's what he does by his actions. When Reuben is either sleeping with her or doing something, because the rabbis have interpreted this as slightly different than what it is explicitly saying. But in any case, Reuben is preventing his father, Jacob, from considering Bilha, the servant of Rachel, the maidservant of Rachel, as the successor of Rachel by doing that. Okay? And so he is kind of messing with his father's choice of Rachel over his own mother, Leah. By the way, the same is done with the dudaim, with the flowers, right? Because he brings the flowers to his mother so she can be the favorable wife for that night. Okay? So by doing what he does afterwards, he's continuing the same line of thought, okay? And it is part of the tension between the wives that continues to the tension between the brothers, the children of Leah, and the children, in this case, the child, specifically Joseph, of Rachel. Yes, Betsy?
Netanel, I've never understood Reuben doing that. I've never heard this explained before. He slept with Bilhah so that, did she become his wife then?
No, but she definitely could not be with his father anymore. Remember what Absalom does when he rebels against his father?
He put all the concubines up on the roof and slept with them all.
Why? Wasn't
to make sure that everybody knew that he was going to be the new king.
Right. So, and what happens to those concubines afterwards?
They were put away.
Right. They did not return to David, right?
Yes.
So in a very similar way, by sleeping with Bilhah or doing whatever, he is kind of severing the ties between Bilhah and Jacob.
And Rachel had already passed away.
Right. So she would not succeed Rachel.
I never knew this, Netanel.
So was Reuben in line to be receiving the double portion?
Yes, Reuben is the oldest one. And by doing that, he is actually causing himself to lose that status as a firstborn, as Jacob says later. So by trying to make sure the line of Leah, or Leah, his mother, is the main wife, hence getting to be the firstborn son succeeding his father, he's actually ending up putting Joseph really as the firstborn. Okay. Yeah. So Betsy, what I'm saying, as you know the text of the Torah itself is not explicitly said in the Torah. I'm just showing that it is very reasonable to understand the context of the actions of Reuben based on the other thing that Reuben did earlier with the flowers, okay? And what we see with Absalom and his rebellion against his father, and what we see in the power struggle between the wives themselves and the children of these wives. So,
Netanel, it's interesting because Jacob and his mother tried to take things into their own hands to assure Jacob would receive the blessing.
And it goes back further even. Think about Sarah trying to take matters into her own hands.
Yes, and she gave Ishmael. Yes, she gave Hagar. Yes.
So all of these are examples for the thin line between doing and definitely Jacob and Rebecca and Abraham. They were doers, okay?
Yes. Yes,
And
they thought they were helping the Lord, kind of.
Right. So what's
took thing in their own hands.
It's always a question with everything in life. Where do you put that line between doing the effort, making the effort to do in order to, that's part of our task.
No, it is.
And saying, okay, I'm doing, but I should not do this. I think that sleeping with your father's maidservant is something that, we're not in those regions, or letting your spouse marry another person. We're not there. It's not our daily questions. At least it didn't come across in my life. But the question of where should be the limit of your effort to help the plan or to help what God promised you is a valid question. These two are off the table now that we know the stories. Please,
Yeah, and I'd say disguising yourself and lying to your father is another one.
Right.
Right.
That's I would say iffy, but the first two, yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Netanel. Good one.
Okay. Yes, Don, you wanted to comment on that?
Well, I'm thinking to the next chapter that goes into Judah and all of that. It once again, it's, I don't know. It's kind of a real mix-up there coming up.
Yeah, definitely a mix-up, and the two chapters are very strongly connected. We don't have I wasn't planning on talking about that, but yet again, I wasn't planning on talking about many of the things that we've talked about today. The two are connected. You can see even by the language, the only two places in the Bible where you have the phrase "hakerna," recognize, please, are chapter 37 of Genesis and 38, and many other connections between these two. But I want to also get to Amos and maybe even to Shechem, so we'll keep that in mind maybe for a different year. Yeah, listen, the Torah was given to the people of Israel so many years ago, and I've never seen a synagogue where the rabbi has nothing to say about the weekly portion. It's always relevant. I told you the joke about the guy who comes to the town and he wants to tie his horse, and he goes to the saloon and they tell him, no, you cannot tie your horse here. And he goes to the bank and no, you can. One guy says, go to the rabbi. And they say, oh, rabbi, horses, tying them? What? So the guy says, listen, he can tie anything to the weekly portion. So so it's always, that's the, yeah. you know that not too long ago I was guiding a delegation of rabbis in Israel, so all of these rabbi jokes. I think this one I didn't tell them, even though they probably know all of them. But I started telling another one, and they all knew it. But anyway, I'll tell you're not a group of rabbis. Maybe you don't know. So the joke I was starting to tell them in the context of something that I said is that the Cossacks was planning on butchering all of the Jews on Yom Kippur. You know that one, guys? You don't know that? So, okay. So the Cossacks were planning to butcher all the Jews of the town on Yom Kippur. They knew they all gather on Yom Kippur to the synagogue, to the shul, and they come, all the Cossacks, they get into the shul. However, they got the date mixed up, and it's only the eve of Yom Kippur. It's not the Yom Kippur, so it's only the rabbi, the cantor, and the shamish, the person in charge of like the logistics in the synagogue. So the Cossacks, they don't know what to do. What should we do? They think about it. They say, listen, we decided to kill you, even though it's not Yom Kippur. We'll kill you three, but we'll grant you a last wish. You're just three. It's not the whole community. We'll give you each last wish. And the rabbi says, listen, I've prepared a sermon for Yom Kippur, something that is out of this world, 2 hours of like explanations and exhortations about mitzvahs that are not done properly by the crowd, and something that is, I have to give that sermon and then kill me. The cantor says, listen, I have prepared such a masterpiece for the prayers of Yom Kippur, something like 2 hours of cantorial music that I have to, I prepared it so much. I want to give that prayer. I want to sing it, and then kill me. They come to the shamash, the guy in charge of the logistics, and he says, listen, I have just one request. Kill me first, please. Yeah. Before he has to, hear the sermon and the music. Yeah, that's the joke. Yeah, kill me first. Okay, so that's about how people sometimes feel about the rabbis talking and the cantors singing. Just so you get the idea. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the selling of Joseph. We'll read this, and then we'll read from Amos, and hopefully we get to talk about the city of Shechem. We got some important grammatical issues and commentary issues in the first verse. Thank you, guys. It's always you that bring the studies from the discussion. Let's see this. Don't be shy, guys.
Come on, someone. I already took my turn.
Right.
It's your turn.
You want me to read?
Go ahead. Yeah, sure. Rosalind, go ahead.
Vayavru anashim midyanim socharim vayim shechu vaya'alu et Yosef min habur vayim karu et Yosef leish me'elim be'esrim kasef Vayavihu et Yosef Mitzrayma. When Midianite traders passed by, they pulled Joseph up out of the pit. They sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites, who brought Joseph to Egypt.
Okay, these are very, very difficult verses because they make that understanding of who sold Joseph and who got the money, and they make it very, very difficult to understand because the Midianites are pulling Joseph, and they are the ones selling Joseph. It is said by Judah, "Ma be'etzakina harog et achinu v'chisinu et damo, lechu v'nimkerenu la'ishmaelim." Judah is the one planning to sell Joseph to the Ishmaelites. So, who is it? The Midianites selling him or not? It's complicated. Suggested, different suggestions were made. One of the solutions is to divide the story of Joseph to different sources of the Torah, according to the document hypothesis. Okay. Remember Avi Dentelsky, which we had. So this is the Chumash, the new Torah, the new Chumash that he published, and it has different colors. And for instance, in this verse, okay, verse 28, yeah, in this edition, you can see that he has two colors. No, it's hard to see like that. And he following suggestions of scholars, suggests that it's a combination of two sources. In one, the brothers are selling Joseph here, and that connects it to the preceding verses. And the first one is related to a different part. Okay, the where they are throwing him to the pit and they sit to eat, and then the Midianites are pulling Joseph from the pit. It's interesting. I'm not getting into the whole discussion. I should say that we're not the first one to notice these difficulties. The rabbis have suggested their own explanations for the unclear parts of this text. Who is selling Joseph? Who is pulling him out? Complicated, noted, discussed, both traditional solutions as well as scholarly solutions. I should say that the scholarly solutions, especially in the story of Joseph and the selling of Joseph, are very interesting because they do present almost two clear narratives, stories that if you read them separately, they don't have that rough patches, but when you put them together in the current form of the text, it is they create that tension, saying that it has to be that way. I'm definitely not saying it, but the text that is before us is the text as we know it. We're not able to find anything that is like the source of the. We don't even have one scroll from these alleged sources. So it's complicated. If you want to know more about it, go back to our discussions with Avi Dentelsky, which we had here a few months ago, I think. So that's a bit about this verse. And the point that I wanted to stress is that Joseph was sold to the Ishmaelites and was brought to Egypt. And this is the main connection between the Parasha and the Haftarah. The Haftarah for the weekly portion of Vayeshev is from Amos, about the sins of Israel, starting from Amos 2:6, all the way to the to chapter 3. Again, we learned together, some of us, the Book of Amos. I love the Book of Amos. And this is the beginning of the Haftarah. Let's read the first verse. Maybe we'll start by reading the first half of the first verse, and then we'll start reading the other parts. So, guys, don't be shy. Yes, Gary, go ahead. You have to unmute the microphone. Go ahead.
Adonai al Shlosha Pish'ei Yisrael Ve'al Arba'ah Lo Ashivenu al Michram Ba'kesav Sadiq Ve'evyon Ba'avur Na'alayim.
Right.
Thus said the Lord, for 3 generations of Israel, for 4 I will not revoke it, because they sell the righteous for money and the needy for a pair of sandals.
Okay. So that's what you read. As I said, the first half of the verse, כה אמר אדוני על 3 פשעי ישראל ועל 4 לא אשיבנו, is kind of a first of all, it repeats itself. It's first of all, we have prophecies about the other nations surrounding Israel and Judah, and then we have a prophecy titled similarly for each of these nations, and then we have for Judah. And only last but not least is this prophecy against Israel. Again, this is part of the principles of Amos, which again we've discussed in length when we studied the Book of Amos. Those of you who were not part of it and are interested in knowing more about it, send me an email. I might be able to send you a link to a recording of that specific discussion. But in any case, in this case, many of the commentators have regarded this as a title for 7 sins that are detailed here in this prophecy. So Shelosha and Arba'ah, all in all 3 and 4, while the meaning of this phrase, Al Shelosha Pish'ei so and so, Ve'al Arba'ah, is interesting, and not necessarily meaning 7 in every time it appears. There is the graduated number structure. In biblical Hebrew, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 100, 100 and 1,000, 1,000 and myriads, right? Hika Shaul ba'alafa b'David b'rivevotav. Saul struck them by the thousands and David by the 10,000. We have a graduated number. It's always essentially the smaller one first and then a bigger one. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to do the math of 3 plus 4 equals 7. Okay. But in this case, we do count 7 sins that we have here. And you've mentioned the first 2, Michram ba'kesef tzadik, ve'evyon ba'avur na'alayim. And this selling of the righteous for kesef is the main connection between the parasha of the Haftarah and the Haftarah. Exactly as in the parasha, Joseph, who is regarded in tradition as the tzaddik, the righteous one, okay, is sold by his brothers. And so Israel does the same thing for the poor people, selling them for money. It should be said that according to biblical law, if someone steals something and does not have the money to repay it, they are sold to slavery. Okay, I'm not getting into the whole discussion of slavery laws in the Torah. very, very interesting discussion. I think oftentimes people who are anti-theistic in Western civilization are generally anti-Judeo-Christian sources. And then the whole notion of slavery in the Torah, as well as in the New Testament, comes to discussion. I think oftentimes that discussion is not very learned, but it does, people say, oh, you want to live according to slavery laws. By the way, some people who are very literal, okay, are also making the same mistake of saying, yes, if the Bible talks about slavery, it means that we should have slavery. Okay, not very common, but there are fringes like that. Not in the Jewish community, but I've heard people saying things like that who are very, I think they're mistaken, not just because it's a bad thing and politically unreasonable, because it's not the right way to understand the Torah. But it's more common to hear critics of the Torah and critics of Judeo-Christian values saying, oh, you, the Torah, and as well as the New Testament, talk about slavery, and I think that in the New Testament there are sources that even talk about the way Christian slaves and masters should regard, how does a Christian slave should regard his master and so forth. But that's a different discussion. I think it is, as I said, sometimes lacking in deep understanding of Torah. I would assume that it also lacks the deep understanding of the New Testament in the same measure. So Michram bakesef tzadik ve'evyon ba'avur na'alayim, that is the reason. This verse is mainly the reason for the connection between the Torah and the Haftarah in the context of Amos. Exactly as the other nations are punished for their sins, surely Israel will suffer for its sins. Okay, and the transgressions of Israel are many, are detailed, are of injustice and oppression of the poor, and so God will punish the people of Israel. Again, a main theme in Amos. Yes, Chris?
What's that time frame of Amos? Is it during the first temple period or after the exile, second temple period?
No.
I'm going to guess.
First
I'm going to guess first.
Yeah, it's the time of Jeroboam the second.
Okay.
Jeroboam the second, meaning if you want to pinpoint this, 760 would be not a bad number.
Yeah,
760 BC.
Roughly about 200 years prior to the Babylonians moving into the neighborhood.
Yeah. It's if you will, the silver age of the northern kingdom.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So 1, 2. Let's see the next verse, guys. Guys, don't be shy. By the way, very, very important. If you all already filled the survey I sent, very good. If not, please do take the time to do it, because it teaches me a lot about what you are expecting, experiencing, and what we can do on 2026. This will really shape the way we learn during 2026, and also preparing for hopefully October 2026 tour of Israel. Guys, yeah, start spreading the news. Start spreading the news. Right. Yeah, next verse. Don't be shy. Betsy, have you read already today?
I have not.
So go ahead.
Hashoafim al Afar Eretz Berosh Dalim. Keep going.
Yeah, sure. Until the end
Okay.
of the verse.
Vederek Anavim Yatu Veish Va'aviv Yeleku El Hana'ara Lema'an Kalel et Shem Kadosh.
Kodshi.
Kodshi.
Right, a closed unaccented syllable. So we have the Kof and the Daled as one syllable, and the accent is on the last syllable. So Kodshi, and this would become a kamatz katan because it's a kamatz in a closed unaccented syllable. My holiness. Okay.
Yes. Netanel, any example of selling people for a pair of sandals in Tanakh?
Yeah, so very, very good question. What does it mean? Is it like a lot? Is it a little? Is it a pair of sandals? Again, we've talked about it in greater detail when we've talked about the Book of Amos. There are all kinds of suggestions in regards to this, even suggesting that it should be read as ne'elam, not with a yod here, and then ne'elam is a different word for bribery, because this might be against the judges, but we don't have specifically. We do have kind of a reference to ancient Near Eastern law that talks about the price of a pair of sandals, but not in the Bible. So, and again, if remind me, Betsy, send me an email. I will find a recording of the relevant part in our discussion of the Book of Amos, and I will send you that recording. You know, because we did have a long discussion about it. Yes, Don.
Sandals are often a part of a land transfer. Is that correct?
That is correct. We do have example for that in the Book of Ruth, and we do have that also is discussed in what we said about the Book of Amos, and we have that in Deuteronomy and so forth. Yeah, we've talked about it in our discussion of the Book of Ruth. And by the way, I started looking at what people wrote in their answer to the survey, and the most popular request for something to what should we learn was a continuous reading of a biblical book, and that is definitely something that we will do. I suggested the Book of Samuel. That's a possibility. We haven't done the Book of Samuel in the past. We did read parts of it, but not continuously. So that's a possibility of something that we might do. But again, if you have not answered it, take the time to answer the survey. By the way, you're more than welcome to send it to other people that, you know, or yeah. And definitely once we have more clear plans for our tour of October 2026, I will open it, and you'll be able to bring friends. I want to have a kind of at least a bus or something that we can. The more people we have, we can make the costs more reasonable. I want it to be reasonable, so we're not gonna stay in the Ritz-Carlton or something like that. It's gonna be a lot of fun, but I'm planning.
Netanel, will you stay with us at the hotel, or will you go home and come back?
No, I won't be able to go home and come back every day because it's gonna be. Listen, it's gonna be a boot camp. Don't think it's gonna be easy. I'm not kidding. It's gonna be a full days. You know, we have. Never mind how many days. It's not gonna be enough. And we will have to do tough decisions. You know, we don't have 2 months of you know, going, seeing all
Take the swag and sleep on the banks of the Galilee.
We'll see. We'll see where
I
I'll
have
be
done that.
reasonable. I'll be reasonable. We won't be sleeping outdoors in the rain, and I'll be reasonable. I
It won't
promise.
be raining
It's
then.
gonna be reasonable. For people, I know the average age is not 18, not even 19. I'm well aware of that, but it's gonna be.
If I
It's
was
gonna
on
be.
the ground, I'd need a lift to get me up.
Yeah. So it's gonna be. I'll be with you guys. I'll be with you. Because otherwise it's going to be complicated, and I'll do the logistics as well. Maybe I'll bring someone to do them. But anyway, it's going to be challenging because we want to make as much as we can from our whatever limited time we'll have. But again, if we see that enough people are joining, I believe it's going to be one for the ages, really.
How many people do you expect? Like 40?
I don't know. If we have 40, we can do
That
it.
would fill up the bus pretty good.
Yeah, something like that. Listen, I'm a friend
Well,
of
we'd
mine.
have to share you a lot, though.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, don't worry. It's gonna be.
I can't believe it might actually happen.
It
I
should,
really
it should.
can't.
Guys, it should. We'll work. We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. We'll make it. I want it to happen. It's a challenge. It's the main challenge is to see that we have enough people that we can do it. Getting everybody here from landing, it's on me. Getting the logistics and doing the tour, that's on me. But it's on you to join. So it's difficult, but we'll see. I believe it's going to be one for the ages, really. Okay. So, השואפים על עפר ארץ בראש דלים, those who pent. Again, very difficult to understand it literally. Why, what does it mean to pent after the very dust of the earth? Yeah, again, the details are in those recordings. If you send me an email, I'll look for them and I'll send you the recordings. At the head of the helpless, and also turn aside the way of the humble. And a man and his father resort to the same girl in order to profane my holy name. This one you can add to Reuben and last week. Yeah. So I wasn't planning on talking about Reuben going to Bilhah, but there you see another connection between last week's portion and the Haftarah. This is how the rabbis can, tie together whichever verse, whichever event with whichever weekly portion. And the last verse of this prophecy. Don't be shy. Don, did you read?
I haven't, but I can go ahead and give it a good try.
Yeah, I'll make it bigger.
Okay. Vial begadim havulim yatu ezel bal kol mis be Mizbeach vayen anoshim ishtu bet Elohim.
Elohim.
Oh, Elohim. Yeah. And I don't have any English here to read.
Yeah, I'll put the English here.
Oh. and on garments taken as pledges they stretch out beside every altar, and in the house of their God they drink the wine of those who have been fined.
Okay. Gives a whole new meaning to the phrase "fine wine," right?
And
Yeah.
the law said that you were not to keep someone's garments overnight in
Right,
pledge.
very good. And we also have a letter from Metzad Chashaviyahu about it, an Ostrakhan complaining about the foreman not giving back the worker his garment. Okay, yeah. Again, I'm not diving too deep into that because we did it for Amos. And if you send me an email, I will look up the recording and the relevant recording. I hope I have it. I should have it somewhere. Okay. That's last week. So it's irrelevant. Yeah. So yeah, that's last week. Again.
Netanel, just real quick, this is a very depressing parashat, isn't it? Even the Amos reading is just sad and
listen, last week we had Reuben and Bilha. It's not so
it was just a bad time.
I think that bad time is very general, I think that take for instance Judah and Tamar.
Exactly.
So of course you can talk about the bad things that happened there, children dying, for behaving in the way that they behaved, and Judah, what he does. But the end of the story is that Judah is accepting responsibility, and that's a big issue and a very important feature for a leader. This is, by the way, part of the current discussion in Israel, obviously. Who should be the ones taking the responsibility for the colossal problems that were on October 7 and leading to October 7? So very interesting discussion. And what types of leadership? Do you want a leader like Joseph, who does not succumb to the temptation of the wife of Potiphar, or a leader like Judah, who is making mistakes but recognizing his mistakes and owning them? The Bible chooses the latter rather than the former. Very interesting. Same goes for David, who is I've heard a friend and a neighbor send me a video of a rabbi who's talking about David and Bathsheba and explaining the whole thing very differently than anything I've seen before. And I was trying to be gentle and say my opinion in a way that would not be offensive. I said that rabbi is very, very, very creative, and there is a good reason nobody has suggested this so far. Yeah, but it struck a very, very interesting discussion in the community, in the WhatsApp group of like the men of the synagogue. Yeah. I don't know if I'm surprised, but many actually considered that that is a reasonable suggestion to open a big discussion. Yeah. By the way, I am not teaching. I'm not teaching Bible in my synagogue. I do teach Maimonides, but intentionally, I don't. I did teach a few times, but I try not to teach too much because different people have different views. Sometimes my views are not as traditional as other views, and I don't want to get into big discussions. So I teach other things. Anyway, that's besides the point. That's last week we've talked about the way of Jacob into the land of Israel. There were, generally speaking, when we talk about the roads in Israel, there were international roads and intra-national, if you will, roads, like inner roads and in Israel, and via Maris, going along the seashore of Israel, and the King's Road, also Derech HaMelech, and Derech HaMidbar, and we have Derech Shechunei Ba'oalim, all kinds of places that are mentioned as Derech HaAtarim. One of these places that are a Derech is Derech Mevo HaShemesh. This name is mentioned in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11. No, don't worry about your bank account. It's Deuteronomy, chapter 11. It's not your business. And it talks about Derech Mevo HaShemesh. Mevo HaShemesh is the sunset. Okay? Right? Jacob is reaching a place when he goes away from Beersheba to Haran. It says, Vayifga b'makom, he reached a place, Vayalen sham kiva hashemesh, he spent the night there for the sun set. So the route of the sunset, as mentioned, Derech Mevo HaShemesh, is the road that crosses the Jordan, exactly as Jacob, through the valley of Sukkot and through the Wadi of Yabok, okay? And that's the beginning of that road. Here we have a sketch of the different mountains in the area around Samaria, okay? And Derech Mevo HaShemesh is here, okay? And this area, okay, is the area that Jacob takes, the road that Jacob takes, the road that the Israelites take when they cross the Jordan. I want to show you that road, okay? And let's do that with a map. Let's do that.
When David is running away from Absalom, does he go on that same route?
Not exactly. Not exactly. He goes through Ma'ale HaZeitim. We'll talk about it, God willing, one day. Not exactly the same road. Let's see here. Now that's the map. We've talked about Jacob crossing the Jordan and crossing the cross of Yabok. We said that, again, this is the Sea of Galilee, this is the Dead Sea. Roughly in the middle, okay, we have that crossing of the Wadi of Zered, Nachal Zered, and the crossing of the Yabok, and that's here, okay? Note, this is a very easy way to cross the Jordan, and you can still cross there today. There says Gesher Adam, or in Arabic, Jisr Damya, and there is not just one bridge, there are a few bridges there from different periods. It's not a main crossing today, but you can still see those bridges, okay? And Jacob, as well as the people of Israel, they go through Derech Mevo HaShemesh. You can see here the topography. This is the layer of the map of the topography, and you can see that there is a wadi all the way here between the mountains. There is here you've got mountains of Tamun, and here you've got mountains as well. And right in the middle there is a beautiful, beautiful valley, the valley of Tirza, the biblical.
Netanel, are you using your cursor? Because nothing's happening on this screen.
Exactly. Thank you,
Okay.
Maureen.
I don't know which mountain you're talking about.
But can you see my cursor? Can you see the map?
No, can't see your
Oh,
cursor.
you can't see anything. Oh,
No.
No, we don't know what you're
Okay.
talking about.
So me talking. Okay, how about now?
Nope. Ah, yes.
Now,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, guys, don't
that
be
makes
so
more sense.
nice, so polite. Come on. So last week we've talked about the crossing. This is Sukkot and Penuel, and Jacob is crossing here. This is the area that I've mentioned, Adam Ha'ir. This is the crossing of the Israelites, crossing of Jacob, possibly crossing of Abram as well. And here there is this wadi. Okay, this wadi is the Wadi of Tirza, in Arabic Wadi Farah. Now with all of the rains, it's beautiful, and it has reservoirs in it and a lot of water. So this is the Derech Mevo HaShemesh. This is the way Jacob takes, and he goes through this road to the city of Shechem. This is the ancient city of Shechem, Tel Balata. Promise that we'll see that when we get there. As far as the layers, can you see now the satellite image? Or
Now we can, yes.
Very good. So this is the now you can see the more green around this area because it's a wadi, and here you can see the mountains. And this is the ancient city of Shechem, which I was planning on talking about because, you know, Jacob is sending Joseph from Hebron all the way to Shechem, right? To look for his brothers. That's our weekly portion. And at least let's read that verse. Just a second. So that's Shechem. We're not gonna cover everything about Shechem, the very important city north of Jerusalem, mentioned in regards to Abram, in regards to Jacob, in regards to the rape of Dinah that we've read about last week, and also in this week we have Jacob sending Joseph, and that's 37:14. ויאמר לו, לך נא ראה את שלום אחיך ואת שלום הצאן, והשיבני דבר, וישלחהו מעמק חברון, ויבוא שכמה. So he sent him all the way from Hebron, and he went to Shechem. That is Route 60, okay? From Hebron, you can see Hebron here, and you can see Shechem here. So Joseph is going to look for his brothers all the way. Hebron, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, Bethel, Shiloh, Shechem. Okay, that's quite a road, and we'll see that road again when we are there, hopefully October 2026. And guys, we'll continue building the learning plan and organizing this tour. I do want, I do want it to happen. I think it's really an opportunity. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a lot of like bus time and a lot of places to see, and I'm sure it's going to be something to remember. Okay, so that's the plan. I'll see you next week. I'm taking seriously what you're writing in the survey, so please do make sure you complete it, and also other people. Yeah.
And we'll meet during Hanukkah?
Yeah, during Hanukkah, we'll meet. Well, definitely, hopefully
Okay.
next Thursday / Friday, and gradually with the new year even more.
Thank you so much,
Sure,
Netanel.
sure,
It's
guys.
just been so nice. I love this.
Amen. Thank you for Betsy, for saying, "Oh, I've never heard such an explanation," and it really, it's amazing that we've been so many years together and still new things.
Every time. But Netanel, that's what I told you. I could look this stuff up when I think about things and wonder why, but it would take me forever. Sometimes I need you to have sorted through all of this already and know the answers. I love
Thank you very
that.
much. Thank you very much.
All right. I
Thank
appreciate
you
you
very
so much.
much.
I'm glad you're back.
Bye bye.
Shalom, shalom.
Bye.
Shalom, shalom.